Imagine waking up and realizing the floor of your living room is 100 degrees. You go to your basement and the walls are hot to the touch. You look out your window and your neighbor's vegetable garden is literally smoking. This isn't a scene from a disaster movie. This was the daily reality for the people of Centralia, Pennsylvania. Most ghost towns die because the money runs out. Centralia died because the ground became a furnace. Today, we are diving into the town that was erased from the map, the 250-year fire that no one can stop, and the dark reason why the government finally gave up on its own citizens. To understand the loss, you have to understand the identity. In 1890, Centralia was a powerhouse. It sat on one of the richest veins of anthracite coal in the world. This wasn't just dirt, it was black diamond. It powered the trains, the factories, and the homes of the American East Coast. By the 1960s, it was a tight-knit community of 1,500 people. Schools, churches, 5 hotels, and 7 churches. It was the quintessential American dream. But that dream had a fatal flaw. The very coal that made them rich had turned the ground beneath them into a honeycomb of tunnels. The town was literally floating on a labyrinth of fuel. Every story has a villain, and in Centralia, it was a pile of trash. In May 1962, the town wanted to clean up the local landfill for the Memorial Day parade. They hired 5 volunteer firefighters to ignite the dump, let it burn, and then douse it. But they didn't know the landfill was built over an unsealed opening of an abandoned strip mine. The fire didn't just stay on the surface, it found a vein. Like a fuse hitting a powder keg, the fire crawled deep into the earth. For weeks, the town thought they'd put it out. But underground, the coal was beginning to bake. Over the next decade, the town spent millions trying to dig it out, flush it with water, and smother it with clay. Every attempt failed. Why? Because every time they dug, they introduced oxygen. They were accidentally fanning the flames of a subterranean hell. By the late 70s, the stakes became lethal. The fire wasn't just a problem, it was a predator. In 1979, the mayor, who also owned a gas station, discovered his underground fuel tanks were 172 degrees Fahrenheit. One spark, and the center of town would have leveled like a bomb. Then came the moment that changed everything. February 14, 1981. A 12-year-old boy named Todd Domboski saw a wisp of smoke in his grandmother's backyard. As he walked toward it, the ground turned to mud and collapsed. He was hanging onto a tree root, staring into a 150-foot deep pit filled with lethal carbon monoxide. He was pulled out just in time, but the open loop was now public. This wasn't just a fire anymore. The town was literally swallowing its children. In 1984, Congress stepped in. But they didn't come to put out the fire, they came with a checkbook. They realized it would cost nearly $1 billion in today's money to move the earth and stop the fire. The choice was simple. It was cheaper to kill the town than to save it. The government began a $42 million relocation program. Over 500 buildings were demolished. The post office was torn down. The zip code, 17927, was officially revoked. But this is where the pattern break happens. Not everyone left. Some residents claimed the fire wasn't under their houses. They became the holdouts, living in a town that legally no longer existed. If you visit Centralia today, you'll see the Graffiti Highway, a mile-long stretch of Route 61 that was abandoned because it kept cracking open from the heat. For years, it was a playground for artists. But in 2020, it was buried under mounds of dirt to stop the dark tourists. But the fire doesn't care about dirt. Experts say there is enough coal in those hills to keep Centralia burning for another 250 years. It is a permanent monument to human negligence, a town that burned from the inside out because of a single pile of trash. Centralia is gone, but the fire is still there, breathing through the vents in the earth. It's a reminder that some mistakes can't be fixed, only abandoned. If you enjoyed this deep dive into America's most haunted geography, subscribe, because in our next episode, we're heading to the west to find the town that was poisoned by its own water. Stay curious and watch your step.